Welcome to our live Q&A to all of our viewers in our Facebook group and perhaps any listeners from our YouTube channel. This is one of my favorite things that we get to do in our Facebook group, Authentic Intimacy for Married Women. And today I have Peggy Litt here with me to join us for our live Q&A. And I'm Karen Seitz. I'm the group administrator as well as the lead teacher for the relationship course at A New Life Center. And I've been doing the work that I teach in the relationship course in my own life and in my marriage for the last 4 years. And I've been working with other women to teach them how to save their marriages and finally have the marriage and relationship of their dreams with their husbands for also about the past 4 years. And today, like I said, I'm here with Peggy Litt, one of the founders of A New Life Center. Hi, Peggy. How are you today?
I am great, Karen. I've been having a great day.
Oh, wonderful. Well, we're glad that you're here to share it with us.
Thank you. I would like to point out something. Anybody watching this, I think, can probably tell Karen and I have a really nice relationship. And this work helps you have that open, honest, warm relationship with so many people in your life, not just your husband. So I do want to point that out because I enjoy these times so much sharing them with you, Karen.
Thank you. And do you want to take a moment just to introduce yourself and who you are and how long you've been doing this work and working with other women and men?
Sure. I met David about 15 years ago and started doing this work with him. And then I started seeing both men and women about 10 years ago, helping them heal their relationships with themselves and with their partners. So everything we're teaching here, I have done, and it really, really works. My life has changed totally.
Yeah. Thank you. So before we jump into the questions that we have to answer today, if you're watching live, know that you can submit questions in the comment section and we'll try to get to them if the time allows in our video today. But before we dive into that, I just want to give a couple of reminders to remind you that what we're teaching in the context of what we present in our Facebook group is in the narrow framework of a woman who has her walls up and is with a good man. That's really the women that we teach and are here to serve. That when you can know that you have your walls up and you're with a good man and you take your walls down, that's where everything can shift and change in your relationship. And I also want to remind our viewers and listeners of the 3 principles that serve as the framework for our group and for our relationship course. And the first one is that you are responsible for your happiness, that happiness is an inside job, and that there's no one and no thing that can make you happy, even your husband, that you have to be willing to go within and find your happiness inside and then be able to bring that into your relationship. And the second principle for our framework is that you are the only person that you can change. And I know that's a tough concept sometimes to really understand and want to know, because we so often want to change our partners or think that they can somehow do something that will change our experience or change our marriage. And what we have found to be true and what I have found to be true in my own life is if I want long-term permanent change, I have to be willing to change myself. And our third principle is that authentic intimacy is actually about having a relationship with yourself and feeling good about who you are. It's from that place that we find our softness and our warmth, and we can open up and take our walls down and then show up fully as who we are in our marriages and with our partners or with our husbands. So with that being said, I think we can jump right in, Peggy, into the questions that we have to answer today.
Great. And I would like to thank everybody that is sending in questions and encourage everyone that hasn't been to please feel free to do that because we are here to help you.
Thank you, Peggy. That's a great point. And know that you can send those to me or to Peggy in a private message. You can also submit them just like you would submit a normal post in the group. And that's going to come directly to me. And then I take notes of the questions that come in that way. And then we answer them on our Q&As. So, all right, I'll go ahead and read our first question for today. I don't understand why you keep saying women have the power in a marriage. What, am I married to a puppy dog? Why doesn't he step up to the plate and man up? I'm so tired and worn out. It's like he's another child in my house.
Well, I'll take a stab at this.
Okay.
You know, I know we really do have the power in the relationship, but maybe a better way of saying it is that women set the tone in a relationship. I know when I am happy, everyone is happy. You know, my children were happy, my husband was happy. And I know at times if my husband came home or my partner came home happy and I wasn't feeling good about myself, I would try and pull him down. Maybe not consciously and maybe not even uh, viciously. It could be done very nicely, but we know just a one liner can just deflate our partners so fast. So, you know, men are so much simpler. All what they want is for us to be happy. And I know when I am happy, David steps up and goes beyond my expectations. And, you know, because men are simpler, they are actually more thoughtful. And, you know, we have so many things going on in our head that sometimes we're not as thoughtful. And I'm learning to be more thoughtful from David, actually. And I also know if I treat my man as a child, he's going to act like one.
That is so true, Peggy. And I think in answering this question, it's also really important to see, as Peggy was saying, that men are really simple. It doesn't take very much. So when I have my walls down and I'm happy, it's like my husband's right there with me. I had a perfect example of this the other night where my husband got home from work and I wasn't in the best place. And I shared this in the Celebrating the Wins post today in the Facebook group that I had some things up that I was facing in my personal life. And when he got home and asked me how I was doing, it was like, well, I've got a lot going on. And it just came out and I just saw him shrink. And luckily I was able to catch that. And then I could apologize and say, I'm sorry, that wasn't fair to you, and gave him a hug, and he lit right back up. So it's just understanding the way that men and women work and this natural dynamic that we have between the two of us. We have these sayings culturally, like happy wife, happy life, or if mama's not happy, nobody's happy. And those statements are true. You can see it and see the way your mood affects your husband or your partner. And where we get that wrong is we think it's the man's job to make us happy and then we'll have a happy life. And what we know to be true and what we teach is you have to find your happiness within, and then you get to bring that happiness in and it changes everything, and they follow our lead. It's just the natural dynamic. And sometimes that can be a tough pill to swallow, or we fight taking responsibility for that.
Well, and Karen, I know even during the night when we're sleeping, if I'm in good space and feel loving, David feels that even when he's sleeping, and he'll want to touch me more or, you know, cuddle, or it's like even he is sound asleep and he can feel how I am towards him. So that's how powerful we are.
It's so true. And another piece I wanted to note is that this isn't a theory to contemplate. It can be really easy, like, yeah, that sounds too good to be true, or I don't believe that. If we just contemplate it, we're never going to experience. Everything that we're teaching is experiential, that you have to step in and take action and do the work to take your walls down and find your happiness within, to experience what we're teaching and what we're talking about.
And you can't fake it or do it from your head.
No, you can't. It doesn't work. I shared that in my post today too, Peggy. It's so nice to genuinely be able to apologize or show up in a genuinely happy place or happy experience in myself with my husband and watch all of this work. But as soon as I'm pretending or trying to be that, nothing changes, because nothing's really truly changed about myself.
Well, and they can tell the difference. They don't trust you if you're just acting.
Yeah, they can feel it. And I think we sometimes take that for granted, thinking that they can't feel or don't know what's going on with us. So, all right. So our next question is, what does it mean that I have my walls up? How do I know that it's my walls are up and it's not my husband withdrawing? I hate it when my husband withdraws.
I know for me, Karen, when my walls are up, I don't want to feel anything or let anyone close. I push everyone away, but then I project that pushing away onto my partner, and I tell myself they're pulling away from me and that I'm glad they are, but it is all me. And if my walls are up, I'm not soft. And they don't trust me. Your partner won't trust you if your walls are up, because we tend to hurt them.
Yeah. For me, it's often I'll have a kind of what you're talking about, Peggy, and pulling away. I can feel a distancing in myself. I can, even like you said, because I'm more likely to pretend like everything's okay. But I want to be alone. When my husband comes home and I can hear the door handle turn, there's like a jump there. I mean, literally. So there's like, oh God, now I've got to be me. Nice. I've got to be open. I got to be nice. For a while, before I had done a lot of work on myself and I was very walled off from my husband, I would literally pull away from him if he tried to touch me. I would be more, the word snippety is coming up, just more quick to react. I would often have internal thoughts of what he was doing wrong or what he needed to change, or a lot of blame going on, a lot of resentment. All those are really good signs that we have our walls up. So the next part of that question is, I think we covered it. Actually, you didn't. What does it mean that I have my walls up?
It means I don't want to be messed with. It means, please stay away from me. It means I have nothing to give. Like you said, it means I want to be left alone.
Yeah.
And that's kind of sad. Do you treat your children like that when they get home? And here is your partner or your husband, and they've worked hard all day, and they come home, and this is how we half greet them, if we greet them at all.
Yeah. Yeah. It also means that we're, very simply put, it means we're blaming for our unhappiness, or we're blaming for the hurt that we're experiencing, or we're blaming for how our marriage or relationship is. And because I blame my partner from that, I just, again, push him away and I hold on to that hurt. And I want to also emphasize, everything we're talking about is really normal. That this is just our human nature, because we have not been taught how to constructively deal with and heal through emotional hurt or emotional pain. So it's our natural reaction to put our walls up and look for something or someone to blame. It's not coming from a place that we're bad or wrong or there's something wrong with us. It really is just our natural reaction. And that's why we have to take it upon ourselves and take responsibility to learn how to heal through hurt that comes up or things that cause us to close our hearts. Because if we don't, that's where we start to build these walls and get the negative experiences that we have in our relationship.
Well, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be hurt that they inflicted on us. It could
Oh,
be past
point.
relationship hurt, and
Yes.
we closed our heart down and we just can't open it back up to our new partner, or maybe we did for a little bit and then went, oh no, it's getting too close here. So, it is so important to heal all of your hurts, and we can help you do that too.
Thank you. That's a really good point, Peggy, that it can also be past hurt that we're carrying around from old relationships or even just past experiences in life or unresolved losses. So, great
Well,
point.
I was watching The Bachelor last season, and all the girls are going, well, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to get hurt. And I'm going, oh my God, these are 20-something-year-old women, and it just really, really reinforced that we don't know how to heal from our hurts, and we need to do that so we can be open in our relationships.
Yeah. Thank you, Peggy. All right. Anything more that you wanted to add on that question?
I don't think so.
Okay. We're getting lots of hearts. So, thank you
Oh,
to all of our
oh
viewers.
yay,
That's
I
so
can't see
kind.
that.
It's like, yeah, it's on my end. So thank you to all of you that are watching. And it's always nice to see. So our next question is, I need to talk things out with my husband when we have a problem. He always avoids talking about anything. Nothing ever gets resolved. It's so frustrating and makes me really angry. How do I get my husband to talk things out?
Well, I know in the past, number one, I would do anything to avoid talking. But if I did get cornered into talking, I came out fighting and trying to make him wrong and me right. Again, I could do it in a very nice way because I'm not a yeller or screamer, but the effect is the same. The effect makes them feel wrong. And after being told you're wrong so many times, I think you quit trying.
Yeah.
And another thing, if you're trying to talk things out and you're angry, that means you're triggered. So when you're triggered, you really are not experiencing your partner how they really are. And I fought this one a lot because I thought I know what I'm feeling, I know what I'm seeing, and um, we were in a meeting one time, and one of my clients was called to go up front and teach something. And I was used to experiencing her across my table working with her. And she's a very natural teacher. Um, there was about 25 people in the room, and 4 or 5 people got triggered by her. And I actually did initially for a few seconds too. And I was sitting right beside her, and I actually almost jumped because I thought she was like standing up there talking so loudly it was almost a scream. And I just kind of got startled, and I went, that's not her, Peggy. And I looked inside myself, and as soon as I felt that charge, she was projecting her voice so everybody could hear her, but there is no way she was screaming. And there was like 4 other people that knew her in a different capacity that were then triggered by her as a teacher, and they thought she was doing the same thing. And it was actually very entertaining for us all to talk about it. and see how distorted our experience can be when we're triggered.
And Peggy, would you mind taking a minute to answer why that is? That why in a trigger is our reality completely distorted and we're not seeing things clearly?
Well, because we are seeing our partner through what is going on in us. You know, I, I'll give you another example of being triggered. David and I were in Mexico, and we decided we were just going to have a shot of tequila and go down to the hot tub. Well, it was Mexico and we're adults, so we had a shot, and David goes, I think you should have another one. What that triggered in me was this feeling of being kind of low class, and I'm a 60-year-old woman. I I thought that was kind of white trailer trash to go do shots, too many shots in Mexico. So all of a sudden I looked at David differently and thought, oh, he's just trying to get me drunk and blah, blah,
Mhm.
And it was just such an innocent, fun thing to do. But I had to look at what it was bringing up in me and own that there was still a part of me that felt a little white trailer trashy, I guess, or maybe not responsible with drinking. And as soon as I saw it was me, sure, I could have one more shot. And then we go in the hot tub and have a wonderful time. But you're experiencing yourself through what is internally happening in you. And my goodness, we say on this Facebook group that we create our experiences. We create our reality even, So we really have to be aware of what's going on internally because it does affect the external experience of ourselves too.
Yeah. Thank you, Peggy, for explaining that. And the other piece I wanted to address and kind of highlight, you had said this when in the beginning when we were answering this question, but a lot of times men don't really want to talk it out because we're coming from a place where we're making it all about ourselves. So I need to talk about this because of what's coming up for me. And I need you to hear me and validate what I'm saying. And then nothing that they do or say can ever be right. And so they constantly feel like they're wrong and they shut down and pull away and they don't want to talk things out. Because I know for myself, when I'm coming from that place, I am not looking to get to a place of resolution or to find a solution. I am coming from a place of you're wrong and I need to let you know why you're wrong. And then there can be no solution. And again, men and women are different. Men are solution oriented. Like, okay, if we need to talk about something, if there's a problem, let's talk about it and find the solution. And if I'm coming from a place more of wanting to vent and just get my side out, then they feel shut down and like they're failing because there's no solution to be found and no resolution.
And we want to make sure they're wrong so we can
Yeah,
feel right too.
exactly. Exactly. So, all right. Anything else you wanted to say about that question, Peggy?
No, ladies, please, if you're feeling angst inside, know you are triggered and know
Mm-hmm.
what you're experiencing is affected by what's going on internally in you. And maybe go to the restroom for a few minutes and calm down, get yourself grounded and see if you can come back from that space because it will very definitely help.
Yeah, it really does. Thank you, Peggy. So, our next question is I don't really understand why I have to change first. I thought a marriage is a partnership where we work together. I'm happy to do my part if he does.
Well, I know I am the only person that can make me happy. So why would I not want to do that? You
Mm.
know, And I know my mood affects my partner immediately. And I also know that a good man will always choose to grow with you if you are getting healthier. They'll step up and they'll walk beside you. So it isn't he does, I do, it's a partnership. But you do sometimes we do set the tone. So and we've made it that way. Maybe at the beginning of the relationship, maybe your husband did set the tone, but then you kind of got used to getting your own way because he was giving it to you and you took advantage of that. So, leveling the playing field is really freedom because then you can both just be you. It isn't who gets their way, it's more how we can support each other for ourselves first and then each other in the relationship.
Thank you, Peggy. I think also just highlighting that again of that one of our three principles for the framework of what we teach is that the only person you can change is yourself. So like Peggy said, why wouldn't you want to do that for you so that you can have a different experience? And it doesn't mean that it's always easy or that things are always perfect, but I want to be coming from a place in my life and in my relationship with myself, even through the bumps and stumbles I have through this, I want to try to give myself the best experience I can give me. So I've got to step up and look at, okay, what's going on in me? What do I have control over to change in myself? It's not saying that your partner, your husband doesn't have issues or flaws or challenges within the relationship, but you cannot change him. So you have to look at what you have control over to change. And then you can see how that shows up differently and you see change in your marriage. But if I don't start with me, I can never know what that might be.
Well, and hopefully your partner or husband had some very wonderful qualities that
Yeah.
made you fall in love with him. Now, you don't have to change him then. You just have to put your walls down and allow him to be himself again. As our walls come up, his walls come up too. And it just allow him to be the wonderful person you fell in love with. We think we have to change them, but it's just really allowing them to be themselves if we take our walls down and be our wonderful, warm selves.
And then we also have that ability just to accept who we are and appreciate ourselves for who we are. And then there's so much more freedom within the relationship. And again, if I'm working on myself to change, that's the work to build a relationship with myself and get to know who I am, which is where intimacy comes from. I cannot be intimate and close and connected with my partner if I am not close and intimate and connected to myself. And that doesn't just mean trying to be perfect and pretend I've got all my ducks in a row. It's a willingness to look at where I don't have my ducks in a row and where I need to improve and maybe areas where I have my own flaws and own shortcomings and learning how to accept that in myself. Because if I don't accept those things in me, then it's impossible for me to accept the flaws or imperfections about my husband.
Well, and don't forget to have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you and David did a video on how we lose the ability to have fun. And that is so important to be able to laugh with your partner. I mean, to just be childlike, not childish, but childlike with your partner, that's really being intimate too.
It is. It is. And it does. It makes things so much more fun to have fun. Go figure. So our next question, unless you had anything else to add.
Nope, I'm okay.
Our next question is, my husband doesn't make me feel like he wants to be around me or makes me feel like I am attractive. I know other men find me attractive. What's up with that?
Okay, let's be honest, ladies. I know if I emasculate and beat my partner down, why would he want to be around me? You know, ask yourself, do I treat other men like I treat my husband? Do I treat strangers better or as harshly as I do my husband? You know, as ice queens, we're not very attractive. We're pretty prickly.
Yeah.
And, you know I have done this and I have seen many women do this when I've been out and about. They'll be snipping at their husband and then another guy will come by and talk to them and it's like a switch just turns and they're just sweet. You know, you can't expect your husband to treat you any different than you treat him. And I know, how can we treat somebody that we've chosen to spend the rest of our lives with? How can we treat them worse than anybody else in our life? You know? So we really, really need to look at that and know that our partners do see us at our worst, where men walking down the street just see you in a snippet of time, you know, and of course we can be attractive women, but are we always that way with our husbands? You know, we can't expect them to see us that way if we're not acting that way or if we're not being that way.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Peggy. That was so clear. And it's so hard to see those things when we're in it and we're stuck in the pain we're carrying around or we're stuck in the blame. It's so difficult and almost actually impossible to see how we're showing up and what Peggy said as being an ice queen and being so walled off and treating our husbands in a way of making them wrong or making them responsible for every little thing that's going wrong in our lives. It's not until I'm willing to say, okay, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired in my marriage, and I'm going to look at these things, that we can start to be honest. And it, again, doesn't mean they're perfect or don't have their flaws, but again, I only have control over me. So for me, when I really looked at how I was being with my husband as an ice queen and the amount of which I pushed him away and made him wrong. And it was like I was always playing devil's advocate. Anything he said or anything he shared with me, I was always telling him, well, what do you think it's like for this other person? And always making him wrong. And then he wasn't attracted to me. When I push my husband away and make him wrong, he doesn't even want to be around me. And it wasn't until I started to look at myself and then start to look for the good things in my husband and look for the positive things that it really started to show up. And then he began to show up with me. And Peggy often says, when we do that, we find our softness and then they melt. And that was exactly what happened. And it's always a great benchmark for me now, because I know if my husband's avoiding me or not really wanting to be around me, then it's a foolproof system. I can look at myself and see, okay, do I have my walls up? What am I not looking at? And then I can do my work. And then he's right there again. So it really is like magic. I think we've said that a few times. But again, you have to experience it. You can't contemplate it or say, oh, that won't work for me. Until you step in and try it, you can never, ever know. The other piece I wanted to highlight was that we had a post earlier this week around the nature of we always want what we don't have. So then when my husband would find me attractive and desirable, then I didn't want it. Then I felt like he was trying to get something from me, or I thought he was needy, or wanting too much from me, or I couldn't even see how he found me attractive or wanted to be with me because I wasn't looking for those things. So again, these are just the things that we have control over to look at, that when we do, can find amazing shifts and changes in your relationship. I think we have one more question, Peggy.
Okay.
All my husband thinks about is sex. It's like every time he comes near me, I think he wants something from me. Maybe if he made me feel attractive and desirable and listened to me, I might be more interested.
Well, I do think men think about sex more than we do. They're simpler. We're multitasking. We got 5 things on our mind. So, if sex comes through at all, it's a little fleeting banner. But they just because they think of it doesn't mean they want it all the time, first of all.
Mhm.
And when they do want it, they really only want to share an experience with us. They're not trying to get something from us, but it's because I shut myself off to myself that I thought they were actually taking something from me.
Yeah.
And as far as feeling attractive or desirable, no one can make me feel that way unless I know me as that. And that's an internal experience of me. And I have to feel good about myself and be happy within myself to know myself as those things. So, bless our poor husbands, they are telling us for years that we look attractive, but if we don't feel that within ourselves, we can't feel it from them. And we almost blame them for us not being able to feel it. And so they quit telling us, you know. Um, and we say that they actually make us feel unattractive,
Mm.
but it's how we feel about ourselves.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Peggy. It's like it just for me, and it can still happen sometimes if I'm not feeling good about myself or not feeling attractive within me. Then if my husband says anything kind to me or is finding me attractive, it just falls on deaf ears. I can't even hear it. And I think you also made a great distinction that they're just wanting to have an experience with us, not take something from us. And I can really relate to what you said, Peggy, as far as when I'm not giving myself what I need and I'm running on empty and I'm giving unconsciously or consciously expecting something in return, then it feels like I have nothing left to give. So if my husband wants to have an experience with me or is is coming on to me in some way or just finding me attractive, then I almost see it as a burden. And what does he want from me now? And that's not because of him. Like Peggy said, we're projecting that onto them because I'm not giving myself what I need and filled up with making myself happy and doing the things that I love to do that allow me to show up in my relationship and have plenty of energy for it. When I'm making myself happy and building a relationship with myself, then it never feels like someone is taking something from me or my husband's trying to get something from me. I have all the energy to be there and it's effortless.
Well, and I know at times when I didn't feel very good about myself, if my partner would say something nice, I almost thought he was being sarcastic and wanting me to feel bad that he didn't really mean it. But the reason I felt that is because I didn't mean it. I didn't feel that way about myself, you know?
Yeah.
So they really can't win when we're feeling bad about ourselves.
No. And again, just tying this all in to our central message around authentic intimacy. If I'm not feeling good about myself, it's just in my nature that I'm going to put my walls up and push my partner away and make it about him. And then there can be no intimacy. So when we talk about, I just crave intimacy and I tell him what's going on and I ask for it and I tell him what needs to change. the intimacy that you're looking for, the intimacy that you're craving, your husband cannot give to you. It's within yourself to find by taking down your walls and finding your softness and being able to have a connection with you. That's what you're really craving. And when you experience that in yourself, then you can show up in your relationship in a whole new way and finally get the connection and intimacy that you're craving with your spouse. And I know that can feel like, it's so much responsibility. Why do I have to do all that work? But I promise you, it is so much easier because you're not spending all your time and all your energy trying to get your husband to change when it's impossible and it's not working and you're feeling so trapped. It's so much easier. It's not easy work. It's hard work, and it takes a commitment to yourself. It's not a magic pill. But when you're willing to do that for yourself and find who you are and have that connection with you, I promise you, it is so much easier than trying to get your husband to change and trying to get what you're looking for from him, because it's not in him to give to you. It's within yourself to give to yourself.
Well, and I think a lot of us ladies want intimacy, but without sex.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's be honest. And that's kind of impossible
Yeah.
because it is only through having sex that we can know ourselves that intimately and know ourselves as soft. And we can't be totally feminine with our partners unless we are soft. You know, we try and pretend that the hugs and kisses and cuddles are what make us soft, but it's not. It's being completely exposed with our partner and then taking our walls down in that exposure that allows our softness to come out.
Thank you, Peggy. And I think also on the flip side of that is sometimes when we think intimacy is about sex and we think that's what's missing in our relationship, because I see that come up in the comments a lot in the group of he doesn't want to have sex with me, I want sex. We think that can give us the intimacy. And that's a myth too, that doesn't work. It really does come from being connected to myself. And then that puts a whole new spin on my experience of sex and how I show up there. And I promise you, if you're with a good man and you take your walls down and you find your softness, then he will want to re-engage in being affectionate and having sex again too. So that's the flip side of that. In closing, one thing I just want to share before we wrap up, Peggy, is we have a wonderful comment. And unfortunately, with the Be Live app we use, I can't see who it's from, but thank you so much for watching and participating. This is a really great awareness that you shared. I think a good distinction in starting with me doesn't mean I'm blaming myself or saying all the bad stuff in my relationship is all my fault, but that I'm empowering myself to break the cycle of how we act together, which lets him open back up again with me. It doesn't make me wrong. It means that I'm making a choice to give us an opportunity to be open together by jumping in first. A good man will always follow me there when he knows the waters are safe to dive in.
Yay!
Beautiful.
Oh, it's wonderful to see you guys are getting it. Yay!
Yeah. Thank you so much. And Peggy, anything you want to say in closing or wrapping up or summarizing anything from today?
Well, I'd like to invite everyone listening to try and go this next week as conscious as you can about where your walls are and see if you can just start one time putting them down and watching your husband's face. It's like watching a little boy that gets a new truck or something. You know, they are still so innocent, and just do it one time, and then maybe the next day do it another time, and then next Friday when everybody says their wins, let us know your experience and your partner's experience. Let's really start supporting each other on this Facebook. we can do this, ladies. You know, we do set the tone, so let's change the tone.
Beautifully put. So if you need help changing the tone, because for me and for all of the women that we've worked with, we've tried lots of things. We've seen that our walls are up. We've tried counseling, or we've tried the self-help books or the love languages, and we're not seeing the changes. A lot of times that's because we need a guide, that our mind is really tricky and very powerful. And it was impossible for me to see these things on my own because I was so committed to my agenda and my blame and my stance that my husband was the problem, that it was impossible for me to look within and see how I was my problem and then know how to be my own solution. And that's what we do in our relationship course, is we teach you a step-by-step action plan on how to take your walls down and how to build a relationship with yourself and how to bring these changes into your marriage so that you can have a connection and have intimacy with your husband. So if that's something that you are ready to look at and see if our relationship course is a good fit for you, then please private message me, and you can also private message Peggy, and we'll set up a free 1-hour breakthrough call where we'll get really clear on what's not working in your marriage, where you want it to be, and helping you see the actions you need to take today to get there. If we're a good fit, that's great, and we can talk about what those next steps would look like to work with us. If not, that's okay too. I promise you will get so much value out of these calls and find new awareness and new clarity that you maybe have never, ever had before. So I would love to talk with you, and I know Peggy would too. So we're here to help. We're here to help you turn your marriage around and get to where you want to be and finally know how to be happy and how to do that for yourself. So thank you so much for watching. And that's all I have to share. But Peggy, anything you want to say in closing?
Well, I just want everyone to have a wonderful weekend and know you only have one life. So let's make the most of it.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Peggy. It's always a pleasure and a treat to do these with you. And we will see you next time on our next Q&A. Again, hope everybody has a great weekend, and thanks for watching or listening. Bye.
Goodbye.